I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio by friend and colleague Ari Rabin-Havt, the host on SiriusXM, Progress 127 of The Agenda, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Morningagenda.com is the website. Ari Rabin-Havt, Aribinhavt is the Twitter account, at Ari Rabin-Havt. Hey, Ari, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
Great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
And we also have on the line with us, I believe from Paris, France, Ben Collins, who's the senior campaigner with the Rainforest Action Network. The website is RAN, as in Rainforest Action Network.org. And Ben, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. So, Ben, give us an update. What's going on there?
Yeah, so negotiations are underway in France, and however, at the same time as there's a lot of disagreements over text. The national commitments have already been submitted, and the bottom line is the outcome is likely to take us below 3 degrees of warming, but not anywhere near much lower levels that are need to keep us below safe thresholds that would keep global warming to safe levels.
Wow. And these commitments are not enforceable anyway, aren't they?
That's right. These are voluntary commitments. So at best, these are aspirational commitments that nations may live up to in the future. Yeah. But even if they do, they're not going to stabilize climate change at safe levels.
Would it be?
Go ahead,
Ben. Would it be unreasonable to suggest that we have not yet hit that tipping point politically? That what we're seeing here symptomatically is that the world, with the exception of the Republican Party of the United States, is waking up to the reality of climate change, but they don't get how bad it is. Either that or my understanding is exaggerated, and it won't be until things start getting a whole hell of a lot worse before we see real action.
Well, on the first day of the COP, world leaders flew in, and there were a lot of speeches made that at least rhetorically pointed in the direction of nations getting it and getting how serious climate change is. That said, talk is cheap, action is really hard, especially on an issue as complex and messy as climate change. And so far, the national commitments don't really meet the level of ambition and urgency needed to really get us on a trajectory to stabilize the climate at safe levels. So in terms of where the world is at in terms of understanding the urgency, it's clear that grassroots movements around the world, people who are on the front lines of climate change, on the front lines of the fossil fuel industry, are already feeling the impacts of fossil fuel extraction, of runaway climate change. But are political leaders really ready to take the steps needed to address the problem? It doesn't look like they're there yet.
Ben, in some ways, does the inability of Congress to take action hamstring any sort of deal? Because these foreign negotiators, they know that the likelihood of getting a climate bill through Congress with Republicans in control is nearly zero. They pay attention to U.S. politics. Does that hamstring an international deal that would actually have firm commitments?
Well, over the short term, certainly congressional theatrics would get in the way of short-term actions that could be taken by the U.S. government. But over the long term, I mean, the ambition of change is needed both within the U.S. and in other developed and developing countries around the world to really stabilize the climate. Are going to take long-term, sustained levels of political will. So, certainly the congressional dynamics complicate the situation for the U.S., but the bottom line is this is a marathon, and there needs to be high levels of ambition both now and over the long term.
Yeah, it's a marathon, though, if Jim Hansen is right, that 1 degree Celsius is holy hell, and, whatever we've got in the pipeline as well, which means we're heading for 2, even if we went to zero carbon tomorrow, within the next 40, 50 years, that's pretty damn scary stuff. Anyhow, Ben, we gotta run. Yeah. Ben Collins with the Rainforest Action Network, RAN.org is the website. Ben, thanks so much for dropping by today.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Great talking with you. Keep up the great work. You guys are doing marvelous work. The Rainforest Action Network, one of the finest organizations out there. Thank you so much. So, Ben Collins. So, Ari, how are you?
Good.
It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me today.
And how was you had an interesting guest on your show this morning on Sirius XM. I'm fascinated to hear about this.
I had the head of it's a new Danish Green Party. It's not technically a Green Party because every country's allowed to have one Green Party, and this is kind of a second newer Green Party, but they were actually exceedingly successful. Everyone said they were crazy when they started, and they started last year and won 9 seats in the Danish parliament. Whoa. Straight away. Are they like more progressive than the Greens? Is that the deal? They're kind of a different type of progressive. They have like democratic values inherently installed in their party. Like they were like their whole theorem, and he talked about this on the show, was if you were creating a political party from scratch with none of the baggage of actually a political party, what would you do? So all their processes are exceedingly democratic to their membership. They kind of allow a lot of their platform is kind of crowdsourced. A lot of their work is crowdsourced. They're kind of a very... Whereas the Green Party is more like a traditional political party with the insiders and the smoke-filled rooms kind of thing? Yeah, and this is more of a crowdsourced kind of new generation of political parties. And obviously their biggest issue is climate change. Right. And that's their biggest, like, the world needs to take action. And I mean, what was amazing is I just asked them, I said, what do you think about U.S. conservatives who deny climate change? And it was kind of one of those... you could hear him sigh and be like, it is, amazing that we have a group of people, like we look upon you guys and laugh basically at what you're saying. Yeah. The Europeans looking at the United States, at Americans, at the Republican Party specifically. And don't quite understand how you could have a party so diluted. I mean, I said on my show this morning, if you're denying climate change at this point, there's only 3 choices. And I don't normally like to get kind of this binary and kind of even rude about it, you could say, but you're either willfully ignorant, chronically stupid, or a pathological liar. Or I would say number 4, and I think it's more likely, and this goes back to the old Sinclair Lewis quote about you can't change a man's mind when his paycheck depends on his not understanding. I put them in the willfully ignorant. Well, I'd say willfully ignorant because they're paid off. And I think we can say that of the entire Republican Party and a few in the Democratic Party. What's amazing is, and I was talking about this on my show this morning because we don't think about it. People say, well, Exxon and BP and all these companies could make a ton of money switching to renewables. And that actually isn't true. And it's actually something we have to confront with them because these aren't our allies. They love to put commercials on. You see Exxon commercials about how clean they are. Well, we know they just lied about this for years. But remember, their wealth is trillions of dollars in untapped energy resources that they own the drilling rights to. Right. So when they go to their stockholders, they say, we own all this oil that's in the ground in the Gulf of Mexico, in Saudi Arabia. And it's reflected in our share price. And it's reflected in our share price. If we don't need that oil anymore, they don't have that wealth. And look, renewable energy, you can't say, I have $1 billion in sun value. Like, it doesn't. So these companies will fight tooth and nail because they have $1 trillion in the ground. They're in the buggy whip business. Yeah. Basically. I mean, and they're trying to but they're a buggy whip business that can buy politicians to ban roads that cars can drive on. Yeah. Because think about that. Well, there were efforts to do that, by the way, in the late 19th century. Which failed, and that's it. You're in the telegraph business trying to prevent people from using the telephone. And by the way, that's exactly what happened with the electric car. That's initially. You're talking about the movie Who Killed the Electric Car? Yeah, it was, hey, we can kill this off. I mean, think about where we would be. Was that model perfect? No, but where would we be now if there were electric cars 20 years ago? Yeah, it's really amazing the damage that has been done to this country. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here, and please be sure to hit the handy dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.